Picture this. You head out to work, ready to take on a new challenge. You're good at your job, you work hard, and you know what it takes to deliver. Then, a 17-year-old with this haircut shows up and embarrasses you in front of all your mates. This is life. Barcelona and Inter Milan was an all-time classic Champions League semi-final. It had everything: tactical prowess, defensive solidity despite the scoreline, and explosive individuality. I did not want it to end. Arsenal and PSG was some of the same, but with some worse finishing all round actually. The Champions League continues to give us all what we want, so let's talk about it. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. Wishing everyone a happy May Day. Yes, even you, guy who cut me off in traffic earlier on today. All is forgiven. I have your number plate memorized. Oh, how a couple of weeks can make a difference. Last time we spoke about Inter Milan, it was after their Bayern Munich win in the quarterfinals. They were in some really good form at that point in time after some questionable moments in the season, and to me, it looked like they were ready to really push on this season and achieve something great. Since then, they've been knocked out of the Coppa Italia, and Napoli have taken control of the league after 2 straight defeats for Inter. Listen, I don't know what to tell you. This is what happens when you add mixed sauce to the mixer. Barcelona, on the other hand, have been subject to an almost exactly opposite fate, pulling further and further away in the league, winning a dramatic Copa del Rey against Real Madrid, and getting front row seats to Madrid's customary implosion from what looks like it could very well be a trophyless season. However, based on how that first leg started in this semi-final between Barcelona and Inter Milan, you might guess wrong who came into this match with more fire on their back. Within 30 seconds, Marcus Thuram gave us a very classy back heel. But all of this comes down to Barcelona's playstyle, that outrageous high line that Hansi Flick likes to play. It took Inter Milan 30 seconds to exploit it. 30 seconds. You see Dumfries with half the pitch to himself over here on the right hand side. Barella's job is made very easy and we're off. That very same exploit almost got reused time and time again, but Barcelona, to their credit, did really well to quell that danger. I mean, it is their playstyle. They know how to counter the counter and all that. But I also think that this is a little bit of a ticking time bomb, and if any manager in world football can exploit it properly, it's probably Inzaghi. But we'll get into this later on in the video. By the way, before we go on, shout out to my boy Clement Turpin. You see this guy reffing, you know we're about to have a banger of a match. Another refereeing performance where none of us are over here talking about the refereeing decisions, only about the match at hand and what happened from what we watched. In an age where, you know, me personally, I'm mostly subjected to Premier League refereeing.
Like, just to be clear, that fucking last video can't go anywhere.
You have to give real props where it's due to the people that are keeping the game together in the best way possible. People say you can't support referees. I can. 2-0 by the 20th minute. Dumfries with some acrobatics off a corner. This is just a lovely goal. Dumfries was just electric in this match. The physicality, the runs, the space he was finding himself in. It's almost like the game was made for him. Now, just like the match the night before, the Arsenal PSG one, the first half of the first half seemed to belong to the away side, and then the second half of the first half, everything just flipped on its head. And who else to trigger a flip than the man who skipped calculus class to play a Champions League semi-final? Yamal gets the ball on the far right, and it looks like maybe he and Kounde had made a mess of it. But no, he powers through and walks his way into an insane goal. And this guy is a lot stronger than you might think, given his frame. Successfully fends off Marcus Thuram, who is a big boy himself. It comes with the gift of balance, I guess. He then reminds Henrik Mkhitaryan that he is indeed more than double Yamal's age and leaves Jan Sommer rooted to the ground. It's sensational stuff here. You could make the argument that Mkhitaryan should be getting closer to Yamal over here, given the gap in athleticism between the two guys, but I also don't think that would have made that much of a difference here. Yamal would have found a way to get past him. His only option here may have been just to take him down, just to foul him. Not a bad tactic, if we're all being honest. And then, seconds later, Yamal puts DiMarco on toast and is only denied by Sommer putting a hand to it. I think at the end of this tie, DiMarco is gonna need some extended time off. You can see he got brought off later on in the match and you can just see it in his face. Brother, you need to go somewhere tropical immediately. And then later on in the first half, a couple of times, you see him sprint back into his own half or just before it and make crucial tackles to stop an Inter break and kickstart another wave of Barcelona attacks. His work rate is remarkable. I think from this point on, Inter Milan's game plan should have pretty much just been to double, triple team this guy as soon as he gets near the ball, which, to be fair to them, they were doing unsuccessfully. The thing is just he's so unpredictable. You don't know whether he's going to drive to the line, cut inside, take his man on and whip it in. You don't know whether he's going to use that outside the boot left foot pass that he does all the time, or whether he's going to use his right foot, because he can do all of it at this point. And he's actually getting a lot better with his right foot over the course of the season. I feel like maybe Barcelona fans can fill me in a little bit, but earlier on in the year, Yamal wasn't using his right foot as much as he is now, right? Or maybe, is that just me? But he's just improving so quickly. Oh, and by the way, we are nowhere near finished talking about Yamal in this video, but before that, Barcelona's second goal. An incredible move. It was coming for a while. The pressure just kept mounting. Pedri, once the wonder kid himself, now the real deal, has been delivering on this promise all season. You don't give this man this much space to pick a pass anywhere on the field, let alone in your own final half. Rafinha and Torres combine beautifully and we're all square. I will say that despite them conceding these goals, Inter did keep a really good shape throughout the entire match, especially in the second half. They were very rock solid. In the first half though, they were just undone by two magical moments. The second half too, I guess. This is one of those games that I just love to talk about because even though the scoreline was 3-3, you would expect at least one team did poorly, but that is not the case at all. Inter Milan knew that they were second best on the ball and off the ball actually when it comes to pressing, as well as being away from home. They needed their discipline to be stellar, and it was. And like I said, Dumfries was just about everywhere and was finding a lot of joy. I remember when he first went to Inter and there was a lot of doubt about him. Many didn't see him as anything more than a workhorse, which, ironically, is actually what he is. But he's added a lot more to his game. Real discipline, tactical prowess, some really good technical passing ability over there, even goals now and then. His goal to take Inter back into the lead from a corner took him to 10 goals this season across all competitions, a career high. As a right back or right wing back, really well done to him. Going back to Barcelona's setup, as I did say before, they played their stereotypical wild high line, and apart from the first 30 seconds, it actually worked quite well over the game. And this is what they do so well as a unit. You could see the frustration building up in the faces of all those Inter Milan players, especially in Nico Barella's face as the game went by, as he's about to make that pass to his wide players or his forward player. The whole Barcelona side, when they see that the opponent is making that movement to make that pass, they all press up in unison to lay that offsides trap. It's nothing that we haven't seen before, right? Another good example from this season is Aston Villa, that a lot of maybe Premier League fans will be familiar with. They have that high line that we think they have no business playing. But the thing that Barcelona does here is that they're so aggressive in doing it, and they press up early. And what this does is a couple things. Now, number one, it catches off the attacker if they are a bit too eager and go forward. And number two, it catches the distributor off guard, and it catches them in a state of mind where they're thinking to themselves, am I going to jump the gun a little bit? It makes them hesitate slightly. And I saw that happen a couple times last night. To Nico Barella twice. I think it also happened to Henrik Mkhitaryan at one point. And when you do that, you hesitate for a split second, the chance is gone. That was the story of Inter Milan against Barca yesterday. Like I said, it worked really well. Mkhitaryan gave us the Kevin Durant special with his offsides goal. Just a toe's length from greatness. What a shame. Okay, we're back on Yamal now. I think another indication of how dangerous Yamal is, how dangerous Barcelona as a team is, and how tactically astute Hansi Flick is on understanding that entire ecosystem and exploiting it, came with that third goal. The ball goes on the ground, straight from a corner, all the way to Rafinha, who unleashes a remarkable strike, and Jan Sommer just gets really unlucky with the rebound off the crossbar. In the lead-up, the ball rolls to Yamal, and immediately there's a man on him, and another closing him down to back up. I'm not sure why nobody was on hand, but as it goes through Yamal's legs, Rafinha could have taken at least 3 touches before shooting, once it gets to him. In his post-match interview with CBS, Yamal was talking about his final effort on goal, the one that looped over the goalkeeper, hit the crossbar, and then went off. That looked like it may have been a cross, may have been a shot. He said he 100% intended that as a shot. Whether he intended it to have that shape or not, I don't know. But I believe him. This is a big game player, and it's someone who probably only just learned what a big game is. Insane performances for Spain in the Euros with goals and crucial knockout games. He got 2 assists in the Copa del Rey final just the other day. This is what the complete package looks like for an elite football player, and this guy is nowhere near his ceiling yet. Can you imagine? It's a scary prospect. And this is the power of Barcelona. Teams have no choice but to double and triple team Yamal. But then you have a man waiting right next to him that has 52 goal contributions in 51 games this season. You have a midfielder who can thread the needle effortlessly and push his team up with ease. You have smooth operators in tight spaces in Dani Olmo, relentless runners that are improving their finishing touch and product by the day in Ferran Torres, and Robert Lewandowski was not even on the pitch. You have other elite young talents in Pau Cubarsí, and Alejandro Balde wasn't even on the pitch either. If he is, and he's occupying those wide spaces, does Dumfries have the confidence to push forward as much as he did? And listen, I'm heaping a lot of praise on Barcelona right now because they were the aggressors in this match and they deserve to be spoken about as such, but we can't discount Inter Milan despite the form that they're in right now. I do believe that Inzaghi is probably the best tactician in European football right now. Even if you don't think he's the best, he's very high up there in both categories. If they can release the ball a little bit quicker in the second leg when they're on the break, maybe force Yamal a little bit further away from the box, maybe give Henrik Mkhitaryan a smaller shoe size, then we're cooking in the second leg. Alright, so some final remarks. DiMarco, we already spoke about him. It's a shame what they did to you, my boy. Thoughts and prayers. Marcus Thuram did really well despite the fact that he didn't have that much ball action in this game, but that was also thanks to Pau Cubarsí, who, on the other hand, was just remarkable. He had 2 shot-stopping tackles, which were potentially goal-stopping tackles, if we're being completely honest. And then Acerbi, really great at halting a lot of those Barcelona attacks in Inter Milan's box. Great game all round, fantastic game all round. Waiting for that second leg. On to PSG Arsenal. What Luis Enrique can do with a dressing room with no significant overpowering egos needs to be commended. Sadly, PSG lost their first game of the season last week, which you know was a tough one, being 4 games from invincibility and all, but it's a blemish on an otherwise impeccable season. They will more than likely win every domestic competition on offer in France, and the only one left is the big one. Arsenal, on the other hand, are riding from the high of Madrid, but other than that, when it comes to the domestic scene, it's a very similar story. Second in the league for the 3rd year in a row, out of everything but the Champions League, and now a loss at home in the semi-finals first leg. They have a mountain to climb, but it's not a huge one. There's a lot of hope because I thought they did a decent job against PSG in that first leg. They're unlucky the Parisians have Donnarumma. This guy's been pulling out some unbelievable shot stopping this season. Dembele and Kvaratskhelia combined to put PSG up in 4 minutes. An early goal in the match understandably throws teams off their game plans. And I'm not saying that that's the reason that Arsenal lost in this game because, like I said, I do think they played decently here, but I also do think that they lacked a bit of urgency at points. And it's sort of like earlier on the season where Arsenal were either drawing a game or maybe winning 1-0 and not pressing and playing as strongly and aggressively as they should have done because they're competing at the highest level for the highest prize. That's the feeling that I got at certain points in the game. They were good, but clearly not good enough. Lewis Skelly, as always, shone bright on a big stage, always impressed by him. I saw a post about an interview that Philipp Lahm did earlier on in this week, or maybe it was last week, I'm not entirely sure, where he was asked how he, as a former right back, you know, one of the best of all time, all that, would deal with many of the modern wingers that we see in the game right now. And he was given a list of players and eventually it got to Saka. And the answer that he gave was simply isolate him. It wasn't push him to the line or hit him early so he knows you're there. It was simply don't let him have the ball. And to an extent, you know, PSG did quite well to make that happen. To an extent, he still got the ball quite a bit. Nuno Mendes was a much better match for him than David Alaba, who, by the way, is injured again. So otherwise, not a great night at the Emirates for the Gunners. It was a quiet match though. All I was hearing was this guy banging his drum all game long and those PSG fans singing their hearts out. If this is the atmosphere that a small group of traveling fans can bring to an away game, these Arsenal players better be mentally preparing themselves for what's to come next week. And there we have it. Let me know what you guys thought about this round of semifinals. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.